So do we get to use the computer to Google things if we don't know?
If it doesn't work, you stand up and tell them everything. Sure.
All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. Appreciate everybody coming here. We weren't sure how many people would come, if we'd have, 10 or, 200. So looks like it's just about right. So that's awesome. So welcome to the first and the last mayoral forum before the election next Tuesday. This event is sponsored by the Burwell Chamber of Commerce and the Burwell Tribune. So my name is David Sawyer, and I'm representing the chamber tonight, and this is Lawrence Johnson, and he's representing the Burwell Tribune tonight. So the format for our discussion it will be pretty simple. Over the last week or so, some citizens have submitted questions to the Burwell Tribune, and they have reviewed those and combined similar questions and prepared a list of questions that we will present to the candidates tonight. We'd like all three of the candidates to weigh in and respond to each question, and we'll take turns offering each candidate the opportunity to respond first to a question. Assuming that we have enough time left over before our designated end time of 7:30, we'll open it up to the audience, and they'll have a chance to address questions to the candidates as well. Does that make sense? Okay. In addition to our live audience here tonight, we also are attempting to broadcast this event online via YouTube Live, and so that's why the camera is back there with the microphone and everything. So, yeah, turn around, everybody turn around and wave. Okay. We previously sent out a link via to the webcast via the Burwell.Nebraska Facebook page, and we're hoping to also it will also be available as a video on YouTube when it's all done for replay. So if any of you know of anybody that would like to watch this event, if any of you would like to watch this again, because it ends up being very entertaining and interesting to you, and you just want to watch it again and again, that it hopefully will be there. Or if you know anyone else that would like to watch it that wasn't able to come tonight, just let them know about that. I won't give you the address for the link right now, but just call the chamber office and we can give that to you. So I'd like to point out, of course, and remind you that the camera and the microphone is back at the back of the room. So anything you can do to keep the talking and noise to a minimum, that would be great, so we can make sure that we're hearing what we're supposed to be hearing on the broadcast. So I think that takes care of the announcements. So now it's time to introduce the three individuals running as candidates for Burwell Mayor, including Jeff Anderson, Jim Robler, and John Scheer. So welcome gentlemen. We appreciate you being here tonight. Before we get to the first question, we're going to ask each one of you to briefly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself. Say, when I say briefly, maybe 2 or 3 minutes or less. Okay, does that make sense? And then we'll start on the submitted questions. And reminder to you guys as well, speak up so everyone in the back of the room can hear you as well. We don't have microphones for you, but it's a relatively small room, so hopefully everybody will be able to hear you okay. All right? Okay. Jeff, would you like to begin with your introduction?
You want us to stand or sit?
It's up to you.
Stand.
Well, David's already introduced all of us, so hopefully you know at least our names on the table. I'm Jeff Anderson. I was born here, graduated from here, and I've lived in Burwell my entire life. I've been employed in Burwell for over 40 years. Currently, I am serving on the City Planning and Zoning Board. I am a committee member of the Calamus Area Community Fund Advisory Board. I am a Community Redevelopment Authority Board member. And I'm on the Calamus Conference Center Project Steering Committee. I'm also the treasurer of First Christian Church. I'm a member of the Calamus Golf Club Board. and currently I'm serving as president of Friends of Fort Hartson. So that keeps me very busy, even though I'm supposed to be retired. So maybe I should eliminate some of those. I've done things in the past, been on different other boards. I was the Garfield County Planning and Zoning Administrator for kind of a short time. I've been school board president of Burwell Elementary School, been Burwell Chamber of Commerce Secretary, various different things, done different projects. I think Burwell's a great place to live, work, and raise a family. And I just hope we can keep it that way. Thank you.
Jim?
I'm Jim Robler. I was graduated from high school here in 1966. Joined the Navy to see the world. Got out of the Navy, moved to North Platte. Was on the North Platte Police Department for 25 years. Retired there in May of '97. Worked for a friend for a while. Found a job at Fort McPherson National Cemetery. I worked there for 16 years as a cemetery caretaker and maintenance person. Retired from there in October of 2014. Something was pushing me in the back, and it was pushing me back to the Sand Hills. And I told my wife we were going to move up here, and she said, well, if you're going to move up there, I'll come with you. We moved back up here. While I was in North Platte, because I was on the police department, I had to get an associate's degree in criminal justice. I was involved in scouting out there for 33 years, served in every capacity from assistant scoutmaster to scoutmaster, unit commissioner, district commissioner. I was on the district committee, I was on the council committee, I was on the council executive board until I moved up here and resigned. Member of Our Redeemer Lutheran Church in North Platte. I served as on the Board of Elders, Board of Finance, a couple other positions. Since moving up here, we moved our membership to St. John's, and somehow I got elected as president of the congregation up there, so I'm serving in that capacity. I'm currently the commander of the VFW post over at Taylor, where I'm a life member because my father was a charter member over there. I didn't have any choice of which post I was going to join. Since I've been here, my wife and I both enjoy volunteering. I've driven trolley the last 2 years, along with Jeff for rodeo, which is quite fun and very entertaining. I'm currently working part-time over at CarQuest as a small engine mechanic. I was working part-time at Bootlegger, but they no longer need my professional assistance as a groundskeeper up there because everything's pretty much on its own. Last 2 falls I have driven a harvest truck for a fellow that I know over at Sargent, Nebraska. And enjoy going to Barb's to coffee every morning and meeting the old fellas that are down there because I am the youngest one at the table. That's
All right. John?
I don't know if I can do brief, but I'll try my best. I was born in Lexington. We moved to Burwell when I was in the 3rd grade. Went to District 14 country school out here. Jerry Hughes and I were in the same grade. We were the only 2 in the grade. We had a great time. They finally got tired of us out there, made us come to town school when we were in the 8th grade. 8th grade trying to send us back to country school, but they couldn't figure out how to do it. I did not graduate from Burwell High School. My folks moved from Burwell to Lincoln after my sophomore year here at Burwell. And in Lincoln, I went to East High School. That's where I graduated. When I got out of college, my folks insisted I go to University of Nebraska. I told them I didn't want to go. They made me go. I showed them I didn't want to go. I flunked out. They wouldn't let me go back. I decided I always had an interest in things you can't see, and went to Central Technical Community College in Hastings, studied in their electrical technology program, got a diploma in that. Received a job in 1973, I think it was, with the Game and Parks Commission. Got to work with them as an electrician. Also did construction work. 1976, I decided I was tired of being dirty all the time. I decided to go back to school. I went to Phoenix, Arizona to DeVry Institute of Technology, studied electronic engineering. Graduated from there in 1979. Went to work for Sperry Flight Systems in Glendale, Arizona, which is where I met my wife, Melissa. I didn't know it at the time, but that was definitely a God-ordained meeting. Worked there until 1987. Went to work for a company in California as a project manager, contract negotiator, also an estimator, doing government contracts, mostly Camp Pendleton, Marine Corps Station, North Island Naval Air Station, Air Force bases up in the California area. And in 1992, decided to just turn I've always tried different challenges, different careers. Had taken some accounting courses, decided to work for Harris Entertainment, the gambling company in 1993. We were in Laughlin, Nevada, is where we started our Harris career. Worked in Laughlin for a year and a half, got transferred to Vicksburg, Mississippi, then I got transferred to Phoenix, Arizona. In Phoenix, they also sent me to San Diego, and finally in 2002, I was transferred to Las Vegas, Lake Tahoe, Nevada. In Lake Tahoe, I was in charge of all the cashiering, credit, and collection operations for Harrah's and Harvey's in Lake Tahoe. And, funny thing about that I think is important for you to understand, up until 1993, I was not a believer. I was an agnostic. I don't know for sure what I was. I don't think I was atheist. But Melissa and I had always said we'd never live in Mississippi. And we made a list of all the states. 1994 actually, Harris Entertainment called me and they said, we want to transfer you to a place that needs help. We need your expertise. You can help us fix our problems. I said, where's that? They said, Vicksburg, Mississippi. The one state we said we would never live in. Got transferred there. And that funny thing happened there, north of Vicksburg in Yazoo City in the hayfield, there was a guy who told me that maybe I needed to come to know Jesus. And that's what happened. That's how God has a sense of humor, because he sent me to Mississippi, and that's where I figured out that I wasn't the smartest guy in the world, and I needed help. We decided to come back to Burwell in 2004. We were living in Hawaii at the time, and we were here on vacation. We saw the Hub building was for sale. And Melissa said, well, call up that number that's on it, let's buy it. And I looked at her like she was nuts, because I think she was nuts. And we called them up, we bought the building, we decided to restore it. And if you've been in there, you know what we're doing with it. But the thing I wanted you to understand about the Hub building is called the Hub. My daughter, who lives in North, thinks the Hub means huge, ugly building. But when we were living in Hawaii, we knew a lady who we had a lot of respect for her. She taught us a lot of things about ourselves, about people. And she told us that, you know what, actually that's an acronym for why you need to move back to Burwell. The H in Hub stands for you need to honor God with what you're going to do with your lives. The U means you need to unify the town that you're living in. And the B means you need to help people to believe. That's what brought me back to Burwell. I truly love it up here. I think that this is a great place to raise kids, a great place for families. I'm running for mayor because I want to try to give back to this town some of the things it's given to me in the last 10 years. I've been here 11 years now. It doesn't seem like it. But
It doesn't seem like it.
and I'm sorry it takes a long time, but that's John Shear.
All right.
That's not possible.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. As we previously expressed, we'll now start with our the questions that were pre-submitted from residents to the Burwell Tribune over the last week or so. And Lawrence, why don't you take the first one that we got here?
Okay, and we'll start with you, Jeff, and go around, and the next question will alternate and start.
Yep.
So.
Perfect.
And if you need to, we'll repeat the question when it's your turn. So, People have a difference in opinion about what a mayor and a council should do. So could you give us a brief description of what you think the mayor and the council of Burwell
Should be or is. Currently, the way I understand the process is the city council will make all of your decisions. That's why city council is important. And I think still in my ward, nobody's running for city council. But they will have the issues and make decisions, and the mayor's job, in my opinion, the way I've seen it in the past, is to help steer them, maybe even gather information, try and meet with different either people or groups or even employees or something, but in the same way with the council. So they're supposed to kind of work together, but as far as voting power, the mayor breaks a tie and the council decides. So if we're after power, it's not here. It's not the mayor's resume, it's in the city council. So I encourage anybody in the audience that's really concerned about Burwell and wants to help Burwell to run for the city council. Now, having said that, being mayor, we also feel that we can steer and guide things maybe towards the positive light and maybe try and keep the negativeness out of some of it, or just help answer questions. And then you have city administrator and city employees that, as you know, get all the stuff done, and the council determines policy and how to put it into effect. So this is all new to us too. None of us, I don't think, have probably been council members or mayors in the place. So we're going to learn as we go also.
Jim?
Had a gentleman approach me and asked me to run for mayor, and he said, you only have 3 jobs, so there's only 3 things you have to do. He says you have to preside over the council meetings and help to steer and guide the council. He says you have to sign the paychecks, and he says you have to ride at the head of the rodeo parade. No, I know it's more complicated than that, but being the mayor, to me, is the only reason I filed is something I've never done. And it looked like it might be a good challenge for me, and it also looks like it could be fun. But the power, there's no power in being a mayor. You know, the council people carry much more influence than a mayor does.
Good. Thanks, Jim. John?
In my 36 years of being in management, one of the things I've always enjoyed is just watching people succeed at what they're doing. The city council is voted, each ward here in town votes for who their city councilman is. The mayor is also elected by you folks, the community, the citizens of this town. I think the city council and the mayor all need to remember who it is they work for. It's important that we all understand that I think right now, from what I've seen, we have a really good group of employees in the city. They do a good job. I don't know if there's issues because I'm not a part of that management aspect right now, but the city council and the mayor need to make sure that those employees are all given the tools that they need to be successful. I think that's the #1 thing we have to do. We also have to work together to make sure that we're making choices that are beneficial for the future of our town. And sometimes I think that those choices are hard to make. Anytime you're talking about money, it's a tough topic. And when it comes to the councilmen, you know, Jeff hit it right on the head. The councilmen are the ones who have to sit down and figure out what the course is going to be. But I do think the mayor can help them keep on task, to keep on course, to make sure they don't stray away from those things that the city, you folks, the citizens, elected us to do for them.
All right. Thank you, John. Jim, this next question goes to you, or it starts with you anyway.
Yeah.
As mayor, would you be open to attending seminars and training and encourage council members, employees to take part in training opportunities as well?
Well, I'm retired. I only have a part-time job, so yeah, if someone offers me an opportunity to go to a seminar or training someplace, I'd be more than willing to go. I think that not only council people, but our city employees should also be encouraged to take the opportunity to educate themselves as much as they can for the betterment of the city, because the more we know, the better we can help run the city.
John, you want to take a shot at that?
Well, I agree 100%. And employees especially need to be given the training they need to do their job. There's always new things coming up in technology when it comes to our electrical systems, even our water systems, and you need to make sure the employees have an opportunity to learn what the new things are so that we can incorporate what we're doing. And I know just from, I talked to a couple of folks who have been involved as a mayor, and I know there's some good organizations out there that mayors have access to. So, yeah, it's a big yes.
All right, Jeff?
Yes, I believe that training would be crucial for all parties involved, employees, up through the council to the mayor. Maybe one of the biggest mayor challenges might be to hit all those meetings or learn as much as you can, because a lot of times the council people can't go because they're probably got full-time jobs. And it's gonna take some time, which I think the three of us might have, to attend some of those. And if you don't go to other training in other towns to see what's working, what's not working, maybe we're about to try something that's already failed somewhere. I'd kinda like to know how they handled that, as well as anybody else that goes to that meeting. So I think the more training they can get to help us make better decisions, the better off we are.
Excellent, thank you. Lawrence, you want to take the next question?
We'll start with Don. What is your perception regarding how the city currently operates, and can it be improved, and if so, how do you think you could implement that?
Well, my perception is obviously going to be different from a lot of folks here because we all see things a little different. One of the things that you can ask Melissa about with regards to me, I have a great concern for debt. I understand fully what debt can do to you, and it can stop you from doing a lot of things that you need to be doing. And sometimes I'm concerned about the amount of debt that a city can incur. Currently, I know that, and I know it's all politics, and I understand this, but I know in the last few city council meetings, the current administration decided to defer how we're going to repay some of our bond issues until the next city council or the next mayor takes office, and I understand that. But I also think that sometimes we need to really be thinking ahead when we get into debt. And I also think that you need to be very upfront with everybody regarding that debt. I think it's important that you talk to you folks, the citizens of this town, about how we're going to pay bonds back. Everybody in here is concerned about property taxes. And so my current perspective is I worry about the debt. When I look at the employees, though, I have a good view of the city, working and living in the hub building. I think that we have a core group of employees. It amazes me how they get things done. Our snow removal in this town's better than anywhere I've ever lived. Lake Tahoe, we got a lot of snow, but and so maybe it's not fair to compare, but I think we do a lot of things well here in this town. So that's the best I can do with that.
Okay, Jeff, you want to take that?
Yeah, as perception as to how the city works, I mean, obviously, we all see various functions day by day, and we probably all question some certain things. Until we're directly involved and can learn more of the situation and circumstances, it's probably hard to draw a conclusion. So again, information is crucial, along with proper training and seminars that we've talked about. In order to improve it or enhance it, obviously you got to grow within your means. I don't know if we are or not. I have been to a council meeting like John's talking about, if they're talking about bond repayments, that's something we have to figure out. And again, the council has to be the main players in that, but the mayor's gonna have to also know the information to hopefully steer everybody the same direction that we're going. But on the other hand too, that if your town doesn't grow and do some things to be status quo at least, if you start losing people or lose your school, you're not gonna have a town. You can look around and see all the towns that basically have dried up. I think Burwell's very fortunate to have the lake in the area, which brings people, which can bring jobs, which can create different things. I think it's been good for us, and I think we're just starting to utilize some of that. I think the first 10 years we were a little slow to get on pace. I really felt that board was trying to get everything like they lived next to the lake, and nothing against the board, but they were just doing a good marketing campaign that here they are. And I've seen some good things happen in Burwell. I think there's some more good things that will happen. So again, until we probably all get involved and hear from you about your ideas and stuff, then we can mesh them all together and hopefully make something work to benefit everybody.
Okay, Jim?
My perception of Burwell is it's a growing town, but we have to do what we can do within our means to make it keep growing. And one of those things is, you know, jobs, but we can't bring in jobs until we have adequate housing. And we've got a good, I think we have a good school. I haven't heard anything bad about it. And then we're back to our city employees again, and I've taken the opportunity, I think, to talk with almost all of them. If I haven't talked with all of them, I don't know which ones I've missed, and I'm impressed with the people that work for the city. It just blows my mind that we've got well-qualified people in the positions they're in that are willing to live in a small town. And I know that some of them could go someplace else and make much, much more money, so apparently money must not be the object, it must be the town that's the object. And that's what we have to do, is we have to you know, within our means, we have to grow this town. And until, you know, one of us gets in there as mayor, find out what those opportunities are, or, you know, that's where I'm at.
All right, this next question, we'll start back with Jeff again. Jeff, do you think there are more checks and balances needed to be implemented in the city accounting and reporting system to avoid errors?
That's gonna be tough for us to answer, I think, any of us, is because we probably, I know I don't know what checks and balances are instituted today. If there is concern about that, or if people are concerned about that, it's definitely something you can look into, but again, I think we first have to understand the process ourselves, and along with the city council, we have to understand the process for us to determine. I guess I'm not aware of any problems currently, but I would also like to know if there are potential problems, or if there are current problems. And then obviously you'd have to put in some more checks and balances if that's required. I'm sure the city that has an audit is required to do an audit. Your auditor tells you a lot of that stuff. So it should be written up in a report somewhere if there's any kind of difficulties that need to be addressed.
Jim, thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that, I was at the council meeting here not too long ago when the audit was brought to the council and everything, and the council and the mayor agreed to accept it because there was nothing that they could see at that time that was wrong. The way city government operates, it would have to be a very devious person to be able to get around that audit. If someone didn't think he was stealing from the city or anything, it probably could be done, but is it being done? I don't really think so.
John, any thoughts on the question about greater checks and balances?
Well, Jeff was right, we would need to learn what they are, because I can't sit here and tell you I understand it. I've looked at what, 2 weeks ago in the Tribune, there was a year-end report on all the line items for the city, and I was sitting looking at those line items, trying to figure out what they meant, what they were. I made a couple of phone calls on some of them because they just made no sense to me at all. But I think that, you know, we would have to, all three of us, get educated on what the current process is, who does what, who controls it, what, if there aren't any checks and balances, well then obviously we might want to put a couple in.
Okay. Lawrence?
All right, next question is, do you think part of economic development's job is to look for and apply for grants? And you can, and we'll start with Jim, and you can yes or no, or elaborate, or whatever you want to do.
Yes.
Okay?
That's my answer, yes, that is part of their job.
All right. John?
What I know about grants, and here's what I know about grants. When we bought the Hub building, Melissa got involved in grants, and I've heard people in town say we have a grant with the Hub. Well, we don't. The Hub's never gotten a grant. Grant writing is an art, and it's a long process. I do know that because I've known grant writers, and I can't sit here and tell you what the Economic Development Department does. What Dave does every day, I don't know. But if I was elected mayor, I would find out. And I do believe that, I know there are grant writing agencies out there. I know that sometimes you can actually contract people or even get people to do grant research and grant writing for you, and maybe alleviate that responsibility from our Director of Economic Development. I know it happens in other towns, so I know that's something you can look at. But to answer your question, yes, economic development person does need to be looking for grants that are available. Should they be doing the writing of them? I don't know about that.
Jeff?
I think probably in today's world, as we are here today, that the economic development in a person in a small town is probably part of the grant writing process. Whether he or she should be, probably depends on your town and situation. I agree with John. I think they should be at least looking. If you are familiar with grant writing, a lot of grant writers either propose a percentage of the grant that they get paid, or you have to give them like a flat fee. So again, we go back to living within our financial means. Can we afford to hire a grant writer? But I'm guessing that we don't have a lot of grant writers around. Again, we're not in the know about that. But if the economic people or somebody isn't looking into grants, we're not going to get any grants. And some of those projects that might hit us may increase our property taxes if we can't get a grant. So I don't know how your feelings are on grants, but right now they're keeping some property taxes down based on, and we're not going to stop that until the federal stops that and everybody quits taking grants. But I think somebody has to look at that potential and decide right or wrong and who's going to write them and see what happens.
Okay, thank you. This next question will start with John. This one was kind of an open-ended question and a number of examples, so I'll just read it to you. What are your thoughts on specific community needs or prioritized community needs? And the list of suggestions were, for example, park facilities, paving roads and alleys that aren't paved now, utilities and infrastructure, the swimming pool, the cemetery, and annexing surrounding areas around Burwell. What are your thoughts on some of those or any other priorities that you think that we ought to be paying attention to as a community? You want to take a stab at that, Jim?
Good luck, John. Yes.
You know, anything that I'm going to have an idea on is based on my experience living in Burwell. And the 10 plus years I've been in Burwell, I know these things for a fact. My water pressure in the Hub building is not as good as it used to be. Why? I don't know. Have I gone and asked any city employees? No, I have not. But does that make me concerned about water? Well, yes. I know that we are looking at and probably gonna build a new community health care center that's gonna be bigger and have more beds and have more employees. I know that we have a great want, I'm gonna call it a want at this point, because I don't know anything else to call it than a want for a community center. No matter where you build it, you're gonna have to run utilities to it. If we do that and build both those facilities, then am I gonna have no water pressure in the hub? I don't know, I hope not. But I think we need to prioritize, obviously, what our needs are and what we're gonna do. The industrial park out here, a great idea. The investment club has done a lot of good things for this town. And this park out here is a great idea, but eventually I could see where you might have to annex it as part of the city. And when you do that, then you have to provide services out there. And I think that sometimes, I just wonder if we look at that, especially with regards to sewer and water and the water treatment. And so, yeah, you have to prioritize, you have to look at what it is the community wants. I think that one of the things that, I've mentioned this in my ads in the paper, if I were elected mayor, I would like to spend more time just talking to the residents of this town and finding out what it is that they want to do. And I'm not saying that the surveys we do aren't accurate or valid. It's just for my own personal interest. I'd like to make sure that if I'm going to be the mayor of Burwell, I want to make sure we're working on the things that the residents of this town want us to work on. To make sure we're all in agreement on what those needs are. So, yeah, you need to prioritize them. You need to understand what they are. But you also need to decide, do we want to grow? I think a lot of people in Burwell are comfortable with the size of Burwell. But there's a lot of people who would love to see it grow. More families, more kids. I personally think it's a great place to grow a family, and I think we should try to attract more families here. But to do that, you got to have housing and jobs. So then we go right back to this prioritizing. I think utilities are something we really got to look hard at.
Good. Jeff, thoughts on priorities?
Can you repeat the question, because I want to make sure I got the,
Sure, thoughts
the
on
bullet
community
points
needs,
down here.
Park facilities, paving roads, utilities and infrastructure, swimming pool, cemetery, annexation needs. That was about it.
Okay. Well, it is kind of hard to prioritize in a sense because some of them overlap, but infrastructure is important in my mind, which includes roads and streets. If you don't have places for businesses or residences to build, it is difficult to get businesses or residents in here. A lot of towns have gone to the point where they build them a building and then hopefully they can fill it. Some of them have filled them, some of them haven't. That's, I'm sure, been talked about in Mayoral before. Again, it comes back to financial responsibility and it comes back to grants. There are definitely some things that I'm sure need to be done. It could include paving some streets. Here lately, if you've noticed, they've torn down some houses in town. It's made some great opportunities. Serving on the planning commission for the city, we've had different people come in and want to build things, develop things. There's no infrastructure there. So again, if you don't have it, it's going to be hard to do. It's supposed to be a new duplex going up. So these things are available, but we do have to plan for them, and we do have to have the ability to make them happen. If you prioritize these, you're probably going to make somebody mad. But we probably need all of them, because as you live here, you'd like to see this. You might want to see a community center, you might want to see a swimming pool, you might want to see park facilities. They're all important. We just need to do the best we can to offer what we can with them and try and grow. Again, John's said it, I think we've all said it. If the kids go away and the families go away, we don't have a town. So I think that's very important.
And to be clear on that question, I wasn't saying you had to prioritize those,
yeah,
or anything else. That
right.
I was trying to give you an example of things that might be important. Jim?
Yeah, it's looking at our community. When I grew up here, there was a square and a block off each into the square was paved, and that was it. I moved back 49 years later, goodness sakes, we got a lot of streets in this town that are paved. Then I start driving around and there's still a lot of streets that are unpaved. But every time you pave a street, it costs bucks. And every time you gotta build a new water line, it costs bucks. And every time you gotta replace a swimming pool that was built in 1962, it's gonna cost money. So it's something that, you know, we gotta figure out what the community needs most now, and hopefully we don't do like we did with L Street and put it off for 40 years. And, you know, we've gotta get in and maintain so that, you know, we aren't losing and hopefully gaining ground.
Thank you. All right, Lawrence?
Okay, I think we're ready for Jeff.
Elder, my turn.
What is your position on constructing a community conference center? And if you have a location in mind, how much indebtedness and reason maybe your board against it or whatever.
Okay. Well, if you listen to my introduction, since I'm on the steering committee of the conference center, my position is probably for it. I think it's important. A lot of towns are doing it. There's a couple things. One, obviously, if you can, and I know it's hard to determine between community center and conference center. It's kind of a dual purpose. Some towns have gone with just community centers, so they just have community functions. If you have a conference center and can do both, you can have receptions, you can have auctions, you can have conferences, you can have whatever. But if you're going to have that or want that, you're going to have to build a facility that'll host it. Currently, I'm not sure exactly what the official capacity of the Legion Club is, but I know that the offices here in Burwell have fielded calls from companies that want to have gatherings larger than what the Legion Club will hold. So we need places like that, because if they bring in people, they will bring in dollars in some fashion. As far as locations, our committee's been talking about locations. There's all kinds of ideas and locations, but you have to find the person that's also willing to sell you that location that you might be looking at. And if you stop and think about it, if you had a 400-person conference center and you brought 400 people to town, where would you think the best place would be? Obviously, it would look nice downtown, but how about parking? So now you're starting to talk about maybe the edges. Now you're starting to talk about traffic. So again, without all the information, and at some point somebody will have a recommendation to some group to make that determination. But I think it's a great opportunity. I think we're going to get business from Ford's Conference Center. Because even though you have the conference center and they have a hotel, which would be nice for us to have one attached to it, there's not enough rooms in Ord to put up the people that will come to the conference. There's not enough rooms in Burwell to put up the people in the conference. So we'll share business back and forth, which isn't a bad thing in my mind. If Ford can help us, we can help them. So I've always been for it. I think it's a good thing if we have the money to do it. And if we can find the money to do it, ever how that financial process shakes out. But back to John's point is we don't want debt that we can't afford.
Jim?
I have to agree with Jeff on that. The debt that we can't afford, but we do need a conference center. Anytime we can bring people from someplace else into Burwell, we're going to spend money. A prime example is not too long ago, Teddy Lee had himself a little car show over here on the north side of town. Ended up with 53 people bringing a car down here or pickup or whatever to show. Some of them were locals, most of them were not. Talked to two brothers that come down here from clear up in the northeast corner of the state. And I was just kind of curious, you know, what'd you spend? Well, we left up there with a full tank of gas. We're going to have to get a full tank of gas before we leave. We had lunch here, we're gonna eat supper before we leave. Another guy won $50 in chamber bucks in the drawing. So what did he do with that $50 in chamber bucks? He walked over to the Western Wear store and bought a new pair of boots for $172 and thought he got a real good bargain too. They got $50 off. So anytime we can bring people in, it's good, but we have to make sure we can afford it. And yes, I am in favor of it.
Okay, John?
You better read that question again.
What is your position on constructing a community/conference center, its location, indebtedness, and reasons why you might be for it or against it?
You know, my wife tells me I think out of the box way too much. But I do have an opinion on this, and I'm going to share it with you the best I can. I am totally in favor of keeping business in downtown Burwell. Now, there's a selfish reason for that. I own the hub, and I can tell you that our best days are when there's foot traffic in downtown Burwell. Anything we do that brings people to this square, rodeo parade, goodness gracious sakes, it's almost a scary day for us because we get so much business. So, do we? You know, if anybody here remembers, if you ever been through a Christian financial thing, they talk about desires, wants, and needs. You got to figure out what your desires are. You got to figure out what the things are that you want, but you have to get the things that you need. Do we need a conference center in Burwell? Well, I don't know that I can answer that. Do we want one? Yes, we want one. Do we desire one? Yes, we desire one. I think we need to figure it out. Number one, how do we want to go in debt to build it? Or are we going to hope that somebody gives the money for it so we don't have to go into debt to build it? That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it, if somebody would do? Or maybe look for an organization that wants to come in and build it and run it themselves as part of their business. There's a lot of ways that you can get something that you want. But I do have a thought on where you could put it. And it's closer to town, right here north of town. I hate any idea where you're going to have kids in a facility that has a highway there. I don't like kids around highways. So I would rather, if we're going to decide we want and need and desire this conference center and we build it, I would rather build it. The day is going to come where Community Memorial is going to open their new center. We have an old facility we got to do something with. Back in my construction days, I can remember there is quite a market out there for people who come in and scrap out old buildings. They salvage out a lot of things from buildings, and I think that there's an opportunity there. I don't know if the city's looked at it, but I hope they have. That there's an opportunity where you can salvage a lot out of the existing facility over here. Then when you do that, you tear it down, well, now you got a big lot there. And I think that would be a great place to build a conference center / swimming pool. And I throw the swimming pool in there because you know what? There's a lot of residents over there who could get benefit from that pool. The therapy programs that they have in pools nowadays. I really like the whole idea of building a new pool and a conference center and everything right over there where the existing community memorial is at. So I think I answered your question. Do we want it, need it, desire it? We need to figure that out. If we do, there's a place we can put it. There's opportunity there for the city to recoup some things, the salvage value of the things out of that building. And I know that there's stuff in there that would bring money. So that's my thought.
Well, John, you not only answered that question, but you answered the next question, which is, what do you think should be done with the Community Memorial Health Center property once it is vacated? And so you pretty much were done with that, right?
It wasn't just there to start.
So it's Jim's turn to start. John, you can pass if you feel like you addressed that.
Oh, I might have more to add.
Okay, so Jim?
What are we going to do with the old hospital?
If and when it,
If and when, I think it's probably will happen. You know, and that's really a good question. that old building would scare me half to death, probably scare all of you half to death, if you know how much asbestos was in there. Because I imagine it's clear full of it. So, refer back to John's little answer there, salvage, let another company do it rather than us ourselves tearing it down. Future use, I don't know. Is it big enough for our conference center that they're planning on building? I don't know. What's that gonna take, 13, 14 acres, something like that? I don't know if that's big enough. If it is, it'd be a good place for the conference center. If it isn't, what would we put there? New swimming pool? Nah, swimming pool belongs down in the park, I think. Housing, be a great place to build houses. It's out of the business district, so I'd have to go with housing.
Jeff, thoughts on the,
Oh, is John passing?
are you passing, John?
Yeah, I'll just add one
He's
thing
in order.
with regards to, Jim brought up the point about asbestos. When we bought the hub building, there was also asbestos in it, and I'm not trying to scare anybody off. I think the bats were a worse problem than the asbestos. Trust me, folks, we spent a year and a half cleaning that building up, but the asbestos, we were able to get it all out of there, and it wasn't as scary as you might make it. There's some really good organizations out there who know what they're doing. They even came and trained me on how to do it, so I got to do a lot of it myself. But I think that we need to remember, and I think part of the leadership's job is to help to inform the community, the citizens of this town, with what it actually takes to do things, so that they don't maybe get scared about a project or the cost of it or what it takes. So I'm just throwing that out there. Don't let things scare you. We got a God out there. He's behind us, he's in front of us. He's got his power.
Jeff, and I would remind you guys too to remember to keep your voices up to make sure everybody in back can hear you okay.
They can move up front when we sit in the chair. The biggest question is if and when they build the new nursing home. The membership voted to build a new nursing home, and I'm hoping that's still on track, but I know construction costs have been out of line with their budget also. So if they don't build one, they'll remodel the existing one. So we can't put all of our eggs in the basket that says, once they build it, this is what we're gonna do here. So our task is we might be able to do this here, but if that doesn't happen, where else can we do it? So that puts a little extra task on everybody involved in that as to where it might go. I had looked at that and thought the same thing as these guys, and swimming pool came to mind. I don't have any kids anymore around here that swim, but I think that'd be a great place for a swimming pool, if it were to happen. Housing, obviously. You could build things in there. I think it'll get used. I don't think that'll be a problem about getting it torn down and getting it used in some fashion that maybe we'd all like to see something. We just don't know what that answer's gonna be yet. There may be other opportunities. Again, more information, more ideas. Our ideas might not float with anybody else. Just because we're here talking tonight, we could get shot down by any ideas we present. And maybe there's really good ideas out there. Maybe we haven't heard them. Conference center, I think we have actually talked about that in the committee. Again, based on whether you think a hotel's gonna come in next to your conference center, or do you just want a community center, what do you want, how much room, how much parking, how much traffic. So there are a lot of things to consider, and I don't think any of us can sit here tonight and say this is what this probably will be, because we could be totally wrong.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, this next question that we got is an indication, I guess, that there's apparently still some concern about having fluoride in the city water. And we went through this about 5 or 6 years ago, and where the state of Nebraska passed a law regarding towns over 1,000 and all that stuff. stuff and what the city did and didn't do and all that. And so right now, as far as I know, I mean, we put fluoride in the water, and I won't offer anything more than that. But any general thoughts about fluoride in the water and what your position is on that and so forth? Not that necessarily even the mayor would decide that, because at this point, as I understand it, would take, you know, like a, somebody to start a petition. Anything could be put on the ballot, right? But it wouldn't be the mayor that would necessarily drive that. But so, John, what are your thoughts? Do you have any general thoughts on the fluoride issue?
You're glad, aren't you?
I was just hoping.
I have very definite thoughts on fluoride. And it all begins for me. You gotta see, you know, we all build foundation of where we build our thoughts on, okay? And in my life, one of the funny things that happened with me when I was in college, that year I was at Nebraska that I hated, I had to do a paper, and I actually did a paper on fluoride in water systems. And you know, I was here when we did all the debates. I sat in this room and we listened to the city council explain to us about fluoride, the different types of fluoride. I don't want to discount anybody. I don't want to make it appear like I think people don't know what they're talking about. But in my personal opinion, poison is poison, and fluoride is poison. I don't know that it's necessary that we add more to our water because it's naturally in the water anyway. If I were elected mayor, I would probably encourage the city council to at least get into a discussion to talk to the residents of the town about, is it something we want to continue to do? And then I think we should leave it up to the citizens of this town. Let them decide. Do we want to make this an issue that we put on the ballot and vote on? I think that's the only way you can
Jeff?
I don't know enough about the fluoride issue either, other than you hear the good and the bad. And obviously, it's already in place, so what do you do about it? If you're against it, you do nothing if you're for it. I would agree with John that you'd have to see what the interest is. You should get the council discussing the issue just to see if there is an issue. You also have to look at the cost of taking it back out, I presume. I don't know what it costs to put in. I'm sure it costs money to do that. It's going to cost you money to do the opposite. But I thought that at the time that it was a major issue that probably should have been decided by the citizens. It's hard for 4 people or 5 people or whoever to really make that kind of decision, in my opinion. And when they said one option, depending on your town size, was you could put it on the ballot, but we were too late or something. It's kind of water under the bridge. But like David said, anything they put on the ballot. So if there's somebody passionate enough that really has concerns and presents some good, strong evidence, I think it's something that the city should talk about.
Jim?
I have to agree with John and Jeff both. It's something that, you know, I wasn't living here when it happened. I've only heard, you know, from this person and this person about how it was handled. Water under the bridge. I have to go back, you know, somebody thinks it's a big enough concern, maybe they should get a petition started. The only thing I want to point out is the health department tracks, I think it's 3rd and 4th graders from the time the fluoride was added. And they track those kids up to, I don't know how far. The Burwell ranks either 1st or 2nd in the lack of cavities in our children. Is it because of the fluoride? I don't know, but I would assume it probably is.
Okay. All right, the next question, we'll start with you, Jeff. Do you see a serious conflict of interest if the mayor and the city council or a city employee are closely related, elected, or hired to serve during the same term?
How did we know that? Obviously, there can be a conflict of interest. The unfortunate part, living in a small town, probably 90% of you in this room are related. Now, how closely, I don't know. And how close we're talking about, obviously, is a concern, possibly. You won't know that, really, as to how deep a conflict it could be until that happens. Obviously, the opportunity is there. It's in all other towns, it's wherever. That's something the voters are gonna have to decide. I mean, I don't think necessarily our opinions that aren't involved in the conflict of interest gonna make any difference. But I certainly can see the potential. But again, how do we know it's going to be a conflict until afterwards? And of course, then it can be harder to change things, but it can be done if there's a problem. Again, I think that the voters are gonna have to decide that. That's the best answer I can give you, I guess.
Okay. Jim?
Oh, that's really a good question. Since my son's running for city council. And he stopped listening to me when he was 16 or 17 years old. My son is running for city council, and I'm running for mayor. He filed just shortly after I did, I think. He is a free thinker. Doesn't believe the same things that his father believes. I think he's a Republican, I'm not sure. Conflict of interest with my son, if we were both elected? I don't think so. He's not afraid to tell his dad when he's wrong. I'm not afraid to tell him when he's wrong. We would probably agree at least 50% of the time on on most issues.
Okay, John?
Yeah, again, I'm gonna relate to life experiences. When I worked for Harris Entertainment, I was in charge of the casinos I was at, of all of the money in the casino. Guess who was in charge of the audit department in that casino? My wife. So I understand conflict of interest very well. This is where, we were talking earlier about checks and balances. You're gonna have a city council, you're gonna have a mayor, you're gonna have the citizens of this community. It's real easy if you want to make it easy to keep track of what's going on. There's this thing out there called the truth. And as long as we're all living in the truth, it's not gonna be an issue. If it does become an issue, then there's a course of action you can take to fix it.
All right, and then the last submitted question that we had, and then it looks like we might have a few minutes for some audience questions if you want to start thinking about a burning issue that you wanted to ask these candidates. This next question, I think we've covered a little bit in the introductions because some of you talked about some of your community activities and service and so forth, but that was the question. Beyond your job or your business, what types of community activities and groups have you been or are you currently engaged in? What is your level of involvement and why do you do it? And so Jim, you previously talked about all your different things that you've been involved in. Anything else that you want to add to that we haven't already talked about?
Oh, goodness sakes, yeah, I could go on for a long time.
Go on till 7:30 and then we have to end
30 seconds, Jim.
As a police officer, you're involved in not just your work. You get involved in other stuff, you know. I somehow got involved with PTA and ended up being made an honorary life member of the PTA out in North Platte. It's just, you get involved not because you want to, it's because you see a need to be involved. One of the things that I learned from the mayor in North Platte was he never missed a wedding funeral. Somebody in North Platte got married, somebody died, he was always at a wedding and a funeral. And I said, Keith, why do you do that? And he says, well, it shows that you care a little bit. He said, besides that, he says, there's always free food. But we have to do, you have to be involved with the community. It can't just be, it's a high-paying job to start with. Mayor's salary is outlandish. But you have to be involved with the communities simply because that's how you find out what you people want. Is going to weddings, going to funerals, going to basketball games, going to football games, doing this, volunteering here, whatever. You have to do it. Otherwise you won't know what's going on.
John, anything you'd like to add to that topic?
Prior to opening the hub, and the hub is now, we're in our 7th year. Does it seem like that, Jeff?
No, you're making me older all the time.
Prior to us opening the hub, I did try to get involved. I actually sat on the board for the Chamber of Commerce, parked the cars at the rodeo, did all the things that come up that everybody in town volunteers for. When we opened the hub, obviously our time got taken by when you own a business, you live, you're married to the business, and for Melissa and I both, it's been really hard to find opportunities to volunteer in the last 6 years. They're out there, but that would have meant that we would have had to be gone from our business, and so it's been hard. However, there is one volunteer effort that I think Melissa and I have always gotten involved in, and that is promoting our town. We have in the hub a book of menus for every place to eat in Burwell, because we get a lot of people come in thinking we have food, but we don't have a lot of food. But I sit down, show them the menus, and show them what's available. And most times they go to one of the local restaurants to eat. Anytime I'm anywhere, I'm promoting the city of Burwell, and that's kind of like a volunteer effort. People ask me sometimes what I do to help the community, and I think that's the number one thing that I am. I'm a cheerleader for Burwell, and hopefully I can continue to do that.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
Yeah, there is definitely a need for volunteers in all fashions, but I can say that probably 99% of the time I don't do it because there's a need. I do it because I want to, and I believe in our town, and as John and Jim both agree that we promote our town. I know Jim sat down at the State Fair booth, I think, and so have I, and John's promoting when he talks to other people. You get into a project, some of these we mentioned tonight, that's why we have all these interested projects, is because we have interested people that think these are important to the town and you believe in them. And you have to act on your beliefs. There may be several of you that don't golf, but I believe that Burwell needed a golf course 20-some years ago. And I was one of the 4 people who believed that, and it happened. Right or wrong and different, but we think it's a big plus to the area up that way. I looked out my window one day and said, why can't Burwell have a new track? And I started asking questions about that. And I think there was 4 of us maybe that started that conversation, but we believed in it. And that was about a $240,000 project, which wasn't going to be easy, but 90% of that, 90% of that was private donations. So other people believed in it too. So I found it easy when you want something to go talk to people and you find a lot of the same things. And we've talked about some of that tonight. There's a lot of you that think things are important. So do we. We need to figure out a way to accomplish it. So I've always just really found it a blessing to live in Burwell, and I think it's a great town. I think people ought to know about it. And when you talk to people at the State Fair or at the Omaha Boat Show or driving the trolley, we've talked to several.
Yeah.
They enjoy it. They love it. They love to come. So if we can get them to stay, work, live, whatever, I think it's great for the town.
All right, excellent, thank you. All right, so transitioning a little bit then to the submitted questions to audience questions. Is there anyone that would like to voice a question at this time for our candidates? Don't be shy.
Be quiet, Fred. Fred cannot.
Any questions?
Bill.
Yes, sir.
I have one. Say, for instance, I'm new to the community, I don't know how your council ran. Will it be, if I come to the meeting and I have a question of the council, will there be a time set aside for me to stand up and ask my question, or will I be told to shut up and sit down?
Let's see, Jim was the first to start on the last question. So John was?
John was.
Oh, that's true. Well, kind of, yeah.
Well, we don't care, you start, John.
John, you want to take that one first?
Okay, let me check for understanding. The question is, will you have opportunity to speak at a council meeting? Now, I'm assuming right now, in order to be speaking at a council meeting, you have to be on the agenda, isn't that correct?
I just moved to town, I don't know you do, you gotta do that a month ahead of time.
I have to say this, I've never looked into if that is part of that open meeting rules. I don't think it is though. I think that one of the things that I have put an ad in the paper stating that I would provide opportunities monthly for citizens of Burwell to meet with me as mayor direct and to discuss things. I've never really thought any more about what is available for a city council meeting. Is there an opportunity for a time to be for newcomers to step up and ask questions? It seems to me like it's a no-brainer. It should be an opportunity that's available. I know sometimes at the council meetings that I've been to in the past that there may not be time for it because there's just so much time consumed just in doing the business that needs to be taken care of. But I would like to think that yes, newcomers to the town could come and ask a question and get an answer. So my answer is going to be it should be an opportunity available in any council meeting.
Jeff?
I agree, it's really important, especially new people that are trying to find out answers. The question is, where is the best opportunity to do that? I've seen some other council meetings, other government bodies try and do that. What Bill has suggested is to have time to speak if he wants to speak to the council. I think currently you have to be on the agenda, and I know the reason for that. The city council meetings are not public meetings. They are meetings in public. You can listen to everything. But obviously, if there was 35, 40 people today, right now, here, and went to a council meeting, you all want to say something, they'll never have a council meeting. But I think there needs to be an opportunity and an avenue to do that, so I kind of like John's idea, if you can get directly to the mayor, I think that'd be great. And if somebody would hold a once-a-month thing or a informational questionnaire or something mailed out, or somebody has to answer your questions. It's not that we don't want to hear from any newcomer. It's just the logistics of how do you do that. Because I've sat on boards, and a lot of you have, and you're looking at your watch like, when are we going to get home? Monday Night Football's on, my cooking show's on, whatever. You don't want to sit there for an extra 2 hours. It's not that you don't want to listen to the opinions or the ideas, because some of them are great. But just where is the right facility, time to do that? And I think I'd like to see that available. I'm just not sure how we would accomplish that yet, but I'm sure there's a way.
Jim?
No, I have to agree with both of them. It's, for someone just moving to town and wanting to get some answers, who you go to.
Even if they're not new.
Yeah, even if they're not, who do you go to? Gene Christmas. Don't know anybody. What'd I do? Gene Christmas. I walked down town and lo and behold, I run into a city councilman. I just grabbed a hold of him and started talking to him. I said, who do I need to go do this, and this, and this, and this? But I knew who he was. I knew he was the only person I knew that was on the city council. So, really valid question. And because of, like Jeff said about, it's an open meeting, but it's an open meeting for the public information, not for the public to give information. Because I have seen council meetings, even here in Burwell, run way too long, because they got tied up on, you know, certain things, and if they had other distractions, they'd run a lot longer. So it would be something that'd be nice for people to be able to say, the third Thursday of every month, you can go ask Joe Blow, your council person or mayor, a question.
Mr. Roberts, that address your question?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Follow up to any of the other questions you didn't feel like you got a good response on or needed more information? Going once? Well, I think these gentlemen will probably be here for a few minutes. If you'd like to come up and you guys hang around for a few minutes in case anybody would like to come up and chat with them.
We will take campaign contributions too.
Okay, and then I appreciate everybody that's come. I think we had the good news is I think we had a pretty substantial discussion and conversation tonight. Hopefully you got to know these guys a little bit better. It sounds like to me they have a lot more in common than they do differences, so that makes your job a little tougher. And the bad news is we probably didn't do anything on the video tonight that's going to get us any YouTube ratings, because it was all pretty, they were all gentlemen, so I appreciate that, but pretty boring video if you're looking for some excitement. So again, thank you all for coming. Oh, one thing I want to remind you of as a community, tomorrow and Saturday, we have the Fall Festival. There's a number of different events happening that support the Calumet Community Fund, formerly the Burwell Community Fund. And so take a look at the agenda, everything from the burger bashes to the live auction, soup supper, the ball drop, and we're selling those balls, those golf balls that you can get at the chamber office. Anything else on that, Stacy? You don't have the order forms back there.
Nope, I didn't bring them with me,
Okay,
but if
right.
somebody's interested, we will go get them.
Okay, all right. So again, thank you, candidates. Let's give a round of applause to our appreciate these guys, because there has been times when nobody wanted to do that job. So we appreciate your willingness to serve. So thank you, everybody, and have a great night. And don't forget to vote on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. Good. Very good. Yeah, I got this meeting tonight still. So.